So we'll get started. Welcome everybody to the last workshop of the afternoon. My name is Romaldo. I'll be the virtual host. Please note that we are recording this work. If you would rather be incognito, please turn off your camera and change your name or remove your name. We're now recording content from the breakout sessions. You may notice at the top of your screen a red button that says live on Zoom with rev.com. This is our live closed captioning service, and it does not mean we are live streaming video anywhere publicly. We ask that participants please honor the conference comfort agreement found on page 6 of your conference program or listed on the Peer Apocalypse website. If at any time you need peer support, please visit www.peerapocalypse.com for a list on the on-call peer support specialists. We ask participants to keep themselves on mute. If you have any questions or comments for the presenter, please use the chat box. And if you're having any technical issues, try logging out and coming back in, and we'll see how that works for you. And I'll turn it over to Aaron.
I'm no longer muted. Okay. Hi, welcome everyone. I'm guessing that this is your 8th presentation so far, maybe more if you came to the pre-conference stuff. How many people have been to 8 or more of these groups? Can I see a show of hands? See a couple people counting. 2? Yeah, did anyone go to the dance? Has it happened yet? Did I miss it? No? Okay, I'm gonna stop it. It's about that. How many people, I feel like they've gotten a lot of good stuff out of the conference this year. Right on. Looks like the bulk of us. That's really cool. I'm going to issue another comfort statement. I know you've heard several comfort statements since starting, but this is a very intense topic, and I think it's something that we all sort of have to go through in our roles as peers. And let me get the slideshow going here. All right. Sorry, little technical bits, and then we'll get back to what I was saying.
Folks are asking if we can turn off the beep when someone enters the room.
I don't know.
Is that something that can be done?
Can we do that, Romaldo?
Yeah, if you go to the participants and down in the corner, there's 3 dots, click on it, and it'll say more, I think. And then it'll say sounds when people enter the room or something like that, and you can just uncheck it and it will mute.
All right, thanks, Joe.
Okay, mine is unchecked.
It's dialed. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to do is take my face off of the Zoom thing because that drives you bonkers watching myself talk. So welcome to Resiliency and Peer Support. Today we're going to talk about a pretty rough topic. I know I've had a hard time just thinking about getting ready to present on it because going through it was such a struggle. And so I'm issuing another comfort statement. Please take care of yourselves if you're feeling like you're having a major challenge. Totally take a break, talk to somebody, reach out. This is something I think we all go through at some point, and it's not something I think we talk about enough. So I want to throw that out there real quick before we get going. So who am I? I'm Aaron Barrow. I'm a veteran who's in recovery. I've worked as a peer specialist at the VA for about 9 years. I also spent time doing a bunch of other stuff. You can probably read about it if you want, but I'm pretty excited to be here and interacting with you all. Monireh, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you. Pleasure to be here with you all. I'm Monireh Moghadam, and I am a licensed clinical social worker. I have been with the Portland VA for 9 years now in suicide prevention the whole time. And my, as you can read here as well, I've worked in primarily crisis management services over the years, and have really enjoyed the work I've done with the VA suicide prevention. So happy to be here with you all.
Thanks, Monireh. I should add, I'm a addictions peer. So I work in a residential treatment program, at the VA. Paul, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay. Well, I'm Paul Mills. Most people actually know me as Phil. That's actually done just to confuse people. I work in Hudvash in Southern Oregon. We have a small facility in White City. And I work with just about everything from crisis to addictions, homelessness. We really don't have a specialty here because we cover all the bases. Our different people, they come with just about anything you can imagine. Yesterday during the lunchtime meeting, I was called away for somebody in crisis. Luckily, it was handled, but that happens at any time that we're here. Some of the programs that I work with are RAP. I'm RAP facilitator trained, whole health trained. I've developed a program called Strong Bonds. Let's see, we really work with the assist, the mental health first aid. We really have a great deal of training in it.
All right, thank you, Paul. I really appreciate it. All right, so what we're going to cover today, we're going to share some of our stories about being on the job and experiencing burnout. We're going to talk about what causes it and what it looks like, and we're going to ask you to share with each other. We're going to jump into some breakout groups and talk about it with each other, about what it's looked like for us, what we have experienced or what we are experiencing. Then we're going to kind of flip the script a bit, and we're going to talk about what helped. Like, where did we see a break in the clouds? Where did that sunshine peek through? What sort of things sort of made this easier and made this doable and helped us feel better? And we're going to have another breakout session where we all get to talk about what's really helpful for us and what really made it doable. So burnout, like I said, I'm addictions peer. I also have my mental health challenges. And I've been working in this program for about 9 years, and getting into it, I was really excited because I was going to help people. I was really going to help people. Not only that, I was going to fix them because I'm good, and I'm good at what I do, and I'm gonna say the right things, I'm going to do the right things, and I'm going to make the connections, and I'm going to fix people because people are going to get better, and it's going to be amazing. And that's just kind of the mindset I went in with. Right off the bat, I made a lot of really close connections with the veterans I work with. I got to know the staff a bit. Came to this program when it was sort of just starting off, so I got to help design things, and then things went okay for a while, but then it started to get a little bit rough. I had a few violent encounters with the people I was working with. I heard some pretty intense stories, some background information. I made some missteps, kind of being new and not really knowing a lot about being a peer specialist. Back then, it was sort of a new job. There wasn't a lot of peer specialists in the world. There's only like 25 at the VA at the time, I think. And so I was sort of trying to invent the car from the wheel up. And things started to stack a little bit. I found that when I was started, I was okay. I could would carry people with me when I'd leave, but it got to a point where I was carrying them home with me. And then it got to a point where when I was not at work, I couldn't stop thinking about some of the rougher things that had happened on the job, or some of the people that I'd talked to that were having a hard time. And things just started to snowball from there. My home life sort of went downhill. After a while, I just got more and more stressed out. I started using again, which was really rough when you're using and you're working in addictions, trying to be the cheerleader for sobriety and recovery, and damaging myself in the process. I stopped sleeping as much. I started having bad dreams. My sleep was just getting horrible. I was getting anxious on the way to the bus in the morning. I remember starkly feeling like just scared, like I don't want to go to work. I'm just too scared to go to work. Nothing had really changed. What had changed is what was happening in here, and in here. And I got cynical. when I was here, I started to spend more and more time hiding in my office or anywhere I could find. I was doing my best to leave early. I remember getting called on the carpet a couple times for ditching out early regularly and getting defensive about that. When someone would slip up here, I got pretty mean. Like I was tearing them down in meetings, and I just loved picking someone apart that I was working with, which is the exact polar opposite of what I'm hired to do and what my mission statement is. It got pretty bad. It's hard to think about, and it's hard to go back there in my head. And it's still, there's never any no burnout. I think I know you know what I mean. There's always like a low level hum of, of struggle, but things have gotten a lot better. But, I got to kind of like a crisis point in my career, in my recovery, working here. And if I wasn't for a really supportive boss and environment and some pretty, pretty strong anti-firing laws, I don't know if I'd still be doing this today and able to share my struggles with you. So that's my story in a nutshell to start. We're going to do more to this story, but I just wanted to talk about what it looked like going downhill, just anxious, mean, scared, angry at home, and still trying to help people, to like just fly in with my cape and be a superhero. So Monireh, would you like to jump in there and talk a little bit about your story?
Sure. Thanks, Aaron. And I will share, hopefully this is okay, Aaron. Aaron
Sure.
and I have actually had the opportunity to partner. There are 4 of us at our facility. We have a psychologist colleague and a research associate. We all work in mental health, and we were all kind of experiencing our own story related to burnout professionally, and we were able to present at the VA Department of Defense Suicide Prevention Conference, which happens every couple of years. This was in 2019. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to be joining this wonderful group today. I just really respect the work that you do. So I will share, so my kind of story began about 4 years ago. Not that I recognized it as such right away, which I certainly did not. I had kind of a convergence of more work responsibilities. So I work on a team of 6 clinical social workers with our suicide prevention program for the Portland, Oregon VA. And in January of 2017, I decided that I would step into our team lead role. One of my colleagues gotten promoted to a national position, and our team had just doubled from 3 of us to 6 of us like a few months prior. And I thought, great, we have all these new staff on our team, and I'm gonna, step up to the challenge to lead the team. And then about a month later, my mom suffered some serious health issues. And long story short on that, for the next 2 months, I was traveling out of state, back and forth with her in the hospital, moved her up to live with me. And in April of that year, a few months later, I started back to work full time with all of my new responsibilities, and also was a full-time caregiver for my mom. And that kind of set the stage for to really kind of highlight some of the things that had been brewing, I think, in my professional life once I had more of the personal responsibilities. And I probably didn't really recognize it, though, for a good 1.5 to 2 years until we started talking about it more. Aaron and our other 2 colleagues started being kind of like, yeah, this is something that's been going on for me. This is why I'll share more about some of the specifics, like we all will, but just wasn't feeling like I was doing the best job I could. My work ethic was suffering. There was a lot of extra responsibility being placed on me, kind of more so than the position warranted. And I was, irritable and, working too much, taking time into my evenings and weekends to catch up on things. And not a good combination. It's not sustainable. And so recognizing that, yeah, I'm in kind of a not great place right now, and I really love the work that I do, and I wasn't feeling that kind of joy and satisfaction in working with veterans in this regard, which I really had for the 5 years prior to my prior to this experience starting. So that's kind of the nutshell of it for me.
Thanks, Monireh. I really appreciate that. Paul, would you like to jump in?
Sure. First time I really experienced it as a burnout, I was actually going to give a different story of, I had a few like private sector and stuff, but Aaron asked me to do one from peer support. And my comfort zone is somewhere just right on the edge of chaos. And that's where I live. That's where I enjoy it. That's where I get enjoyment out of. But it's so easy to tip over that edge that I didn't notice it. And I had providers coming to me. I had veterans coming to me. I had people in absolute crisis on every side of me. And I was attempting to be everything to everybody. And I really neglected my self-care. And yeah, it got too much. And I won't say I got to the point of being ineffective, but I was really close there. And I had some people helping me and take me aside and talk to me. And it made me step back and take a look at what I was doing and the harm I was doing to myself. I'm a single dad too. So I'd get home and I'd literally get home and go to sleep. And that was pretty much my life at that point. So. Oh, and on the good side, I did eventually make it back.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, I'll tell you more about how that happened in a bit.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about your return journey too. I want to, in a bit. All right. Oh gosh, sorry, I got to do these technical bits again. That's what always gets me lost for just a second.
Well, Jim was up. He was mentioning his journey, and he says it's to everyone, so it's okay. Well, it was okay to read. Where did it go?
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay.
So, what is burnout really? I think we've kind of given like an overview of what burnout felt like to us. I'm not going to go into this stuff too much because I really quick Google search and you guys can find all this stuff yourself, guys and gals. It's exhaustion or physical or emotional strength or motivation, usually as a result of prolonged stress or frustration. It's a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. And that definitely speaks to me. What are some of the symptoms? Physical signs: feeling drained, frequent headaches. You get sick more because your body is just beat up. Your reaction to invading stuff isn't as strong. Change in appetite. Yeah, my change in appetite was like a bag of Doritos and a pint of ice cream every night. But I think I definitely was neglecting a healthy food. Sleep patterns definitely changed. A lot more nightmares, waking up early, waking up in distress or just feeling awful. Internal signs: feeling hopeless, feeling trapped or defeated, having little motivation, getting really cynical. That was a big part of it. Little joy and success. Behavioral symptoms: isolating, procrastinating, smoking, eating, using to cope, getting easily frustrated, coming in late, leaving early, and avoiding responsibilities. I think when I was telling my story, there's so many things from this symptom list that I could pick out. Whoops. Pop. Just feeling drained all the time. Uh, just binge eating and then neglecting the healthier part of myself. Waking up feeling awful, feeling trapped, like I didn't have any other choice but to go in, and having very little motivation to be at work. And then getting cynical. Man, I was so mean about the people I was working with. Would someone would come back? Because that's recovery. 2 steps forward, 1 steps back, or sometimes 2 steps forward, 10 steps back. When people would come back through our program, I was just, like, how could they? Aren't they better already? I mean, come on. What do they need this for? Anyway, I could go on and on about that, but just getting really frustrating, hiding a lot, avoiding responsibilities. Monireh or Paul, would you like to speak to some of these things that you saw in your stories?
Monireh, would you like to go first?
Oh, sure. Thanks, Paul. I'll jump in. Yeah. I'd say for me, it was a lot of maybe the biggest physical sign for me was my sleep was affected. I developed pretty significant insomnia, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and of course the anxiety would kick in. I start thinking about what I had to do the next day, and that has taken a lot of work to try to undo that over the years. I think I would often feel that sense of feeling kind of defeated, that kind of helpless, I don't say hopeless, but really kind of helpless feeling like I'm never going to catch up. I'm never going to be able to, address all of these things at the level that people are expecting me to, because again, I was being tasked with extra responsibilities that were actually outside or above my position in that role. And so I kind of just felt like I could never kind of keep up with that. My motivation, which is hard when you have a lot of extra responsibilities, your motivation tanks, you're kind of could be in a bad spot with that. And then I also experienced that cynicism that Aaron talked about, just maybe not so much with the veterans that I worked with, but just kind of in general. I think I was taking it to my friends and family and being a little less than kind about how I described my work. And then also just some of the behavioral stuff, maybe a little more isolating, definitely procrastination, and really kind of avoiding some responsibilities again. And when you have extra ones to do, then you fall behind constantly. And then you're in that kind of trapped loop, kind of endless loop there. So those are the ones that I experienced the most.
Jim actually added one on here that was pretty accurate. It's spiritual exhaustion. For myself, the one that really, really resonated was when Aaron said a bag of Doritos. That was like, yep, that's it. But feeling drained, like say, I'd get home and I'd go to sleep. First thing I'd do when I got home is I'd take a nap. The change in appetite, some sleep patterns that goes with taking the nap, and just feeling trapped. That was a big one for me. And I don't believe I did the feeling little motivation. I actually seemed to have more motivation to try to struggle through it instead of taking a step back and examining what the real issue was. I tried to just bull my way through it and I'm going to fix this. And I found out it doesn't work. There wasn't very much success to have any joy in, because the more I tried, the less success that I had. Isolating from others, that's kind of a natural for me in my background, but I'm trying to break that habit now. Smoking, I quit smoking. I wasn't going back to that. And I don't have a chance as a single dad. I don't have a chance to avoid responsibilities. They come and find me. The work responsibilities, they were coming and finding me. So I couldn't get away. So that just made the hole a little bit deeper. So thanks, Aaron.
Appreciate that. Some of the causes, just having no control over your work, lack of recognition. I think peers, we kind of get that a lot. We're sort of the other on the job a lot of the time. And it depends on your environment, but that's something I've experienced, and I'm sure other people have experienced it too. Definitely working in chaotic or high pressure environments, especially if you're working in crisis management environments. Lifestyle causes, man, just working too much, not leaning on the people in my life. In fact, the worse things got, the more I pushed them away, trying to muscle through it. Just no, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to push through it. I think, like Paul said, that really sparked something for me. The lack of sleep is a big deal. And the personality traits is this, the view that I could fix everything, like I'm in control, like I control this, I control you, I control me, I control that, I control my environment. There's so little control I have over my life, which is actually a blessing. But just having this feeling that everything's on me, like I got to fix everything, you know. I think there's a couple of very specific concerns, and this wasn't from like the web piece, but this is just something that I've sort of been thinking about. As veterans, or not even veterans, I'm sorry, as peer specialists, a lot of the times I think we're seen as the other, you know, we're the patients that are allowed into the party. And I know over the years I haven't gotten invitations to people's houses. I've not Facebook friends. It's little things, and I think it's been less so for me. I'm sure that other people have had a deeper experience of this, but just not having the connection to the group that's helping to balance all this stress and challenge, you know, being sort of on the outside looking in can be really tough. And I think it can really raise that level of burnout. Also vulnerability. I mean, it's in my job description to tell my story, and I don't mind telling my story, but it also leaves me open. Like part of being a good at what I do is to be vulnerable, is to go into the trench with the person I'm working with. I had a colleague that gave me a metaphor that I love, probably my all-time favorite metaphor. He says, social workers give the ladder, you know, put the ladder down to the people who are in the hole. Peer specialists climb down the ladder and help them find it, you know. And that is a beautiful thing, and it's a superpower, but can also leave us open to being burned out too, you know, that vulnerability. So I don't know, Monireh or Paul, do you have anything you want to say around the causes?
No, Jim actually brought up one, but supervision can have a lot to do with it. And
Mhm.
I'm really lucky with what we got going now because I have more leadership, and I'm a huge proponent of leadership over management. And I've got myself in trouble over that one a few times because I'll flat out tell them whether they're a leader or a manager, and I'll tell them why. And then I'll explain the benefits of having the manager. Um, there was one up here. Uh, Somebody was asking what the asterisks at the end of some of the sentences
Monireh,
relate
would you
to.
like to explain that one?
Yes. This actually, I shared some of this information for our presentation, and these were things that struck out that I specifically related to, that I experienced, that I think were causes for me. And so I asterisked them. So they're not necessarily something that everybody in our group here would experience, but these were ones that I related to. So.
No, they look good. I don't know if I'm a type A personality, but man, I think I can kind of connect with you, Monterey, on a lot of the things that you've highlighted on this list. Are there any that really stick out to you more than others?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was interesting to learn more about some of the personality traits that might kind of set you up to be more likely to experience the burnout. But I think, for like those of us, Aaron and Paul and I, and any of you others that we work in the VA, but those of you that work in other kinds of bureaucratic settings, a lot of us do in the community as well. There's sometimes some of the work can feel like, I know my program is very siloed, and so and a lot of it's understood, like, what is the suicide prevention program, what do you guys do? And there's not a lot of recognition of the work that we do, because we're not providing patient care, we're not providing it's less tangible, it's more behind the scenes. And so there kind of systemically has not been a lot of recognition for our work. And I'll share more about kind of how I've gotten past that later on. And then for me, I was experiencing just, I kept having more and more responsibilities added to my team lead role, which should have been for a higher up position to do. And I was being expected to do those. So I felt like I was kind of trapped in that regard, that I didn't have control over the workload. So that combination of not being acknowledged for the work that I was doing or my team was doing, which is a lot of hard work, and all of us do, right? And then we want you to do more. That was kind of a recipe for things kind of converging that way with the burnout. And then I also was, like I mentioned, the lifestyle part. It wasn't taking my breaks when I was supposed to, or even, I'd wait till like the end of the day, or I wouldn't get to them, or I'd work after. Sometimes I'd log in on the weekend. Oh, I have to finish this one thing. I'm just going to do this one thing. The sleep I already mentioned, and then the personality stuff I've, asterisk there that are kind of more ones I resemble a bit. But I just wanted to comment on what you shared, Erin, about the peer specific concerns, which I think are really important to recognize as mental health clinicians, like social workers and psychologists and psychiatrists. We're trained to kind of limit our sharing and not introduce too much of ourselves into the work that we're doing, when it's appropriate, clinically appropriate to do that. And I think it's a really important distinction to make for those of you as peers, that you're really that vulnerability, that you are really putting yourself out there, and having to share your story as part of what you do is so valuable and important. But I could imagine that it's a different dynamic that way, where we're able to kind of have a little more of a boundary that we aren't supposed to pass, whereas this is part of what your work is that's the value you're sharing, about yourself with people. So I do appreciate that. That's a very important distinction.
Thank you. There's one more thing that occurred to me as you were sharing that can be tough as a peer too, specifically, is that as part of our job description is to be advocates for the veterans that we serve, or advocates for the people that you serve as peers. And sometimes, man, I'll tell you what, it is hard to be in a meeting with my colleagues and 20 people want something for somebody and that they don't want. And then there's me like, oh, you know what? I don't think this is a good idea. But just knowing that I'm facing all this blowback for going against the tide can be really tough. And that happens sometimes too. And I think that we probably have a lot of people that can vibe with that. So what I'd like to do next is I'd like to break us into groups of 4, take about 10 minutes, and have you all just share with each other things that you've experienced on the job, that have led to feeling burned out, and what that sort of looked like. And I wish I could give you more time, but I want to make sure that we have enough time to get through both sections of the presentation. Why don't we make it, let's say, yes.
I'm just looking, I have the chat box pulled up. I haven't been able to keep up the whole time. I just want to make sure that we're addressing some of the questions that are and comments that are coming up. Maybe before, if we could just take a minute or two here.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, there we go. Thanks. I have 2 different screens open. And there's been a lot of great comments, people that are kind of relating, sharing their own experiences.
Yeah, I see one that's, I should have mentioned too, as a missing bullet under peer specialist concerns is the oppression of marginalized groups, bias, prejudice, discrimination, marginalization. This is almost always overlooked. Thank you for bringing that up, Marcus. Or Malcolm. Sorry, I really appreciate that. I've struggled through stigma, admitting that I have addiction disorder and that I've struggled with addictions and with mental health problems, but I haven't had to face the same dilemmas that people of color have had to face, just living life in their skin as living in a marginalized group. And I want to lift that up. And I didn't really speak much to it because I don't know if it's fair for me to speak to something that I haven't experienced, but I do want to say that I recognize that. And I want to thank you for raising that point, Malcolm, because it's very, very solid and and is a huge topic. I really appreciate that.
Malcolm had also stated earlier something that we really didn't address, and that's that there's micro and macro structures in our work environment that have different effects on it. Within one work environment, there can be several different stressors, whole lot of things that can be contributing in there. And they can be supportive as well as stressors.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. So why don't we break into small groups? I'm going to say for about 12 minutes. Let's take some time to talk with each other about what we faced and what we're feeling, and you know, maybe what we did face, or what we're currently walking through. I know it's not a lot of time, but we're gonna talk about things on the other side too. So Romaldo, if you're ready, let's get it going. I feel like playing some Jeopardy music now. Na 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 na. I see more comments from Malcolm. I try not to use stigma. I prefer discrimination because it carries legal weight. I'm talking about the marginalized protection category of those labeled mentally ill. The issues of intersectionality are huge too, but that's not what I was speaking to. Yeah, thanks, Malcolm. And that is a huge part of our job, isn't it? To make the invisible visible and kind of take some of the heat off of people that are kind of feeling that, you know, feeling marginalized or being discriminated against specifically for what they're going through, or what they have gone through, or what they're born with and can't do much about. I see one from Jim. I worked in a community mental health center in Northeast Oklahoma in the heart of Indian country. The agency never acknowledged that it was on my people's land, and the therapist treated native clients as the same as non-native clients. Thank you, Jim.
This is taking a minute. For some reason, it's not letting me do it the way I wanted to do it.
Well, we could do that, or we could ask people. Okay, so what my concern is here is we have a huge group. We have 83 people, and probably a lot of people that would like to talk about their experiences. And I was a little worried that if we kind of all unmuted at the same time, we might be like a symphony of voices coming through the system.
About a raise of hands, and then you can choose one.
That sounds
And
good.
then people could unmute that way. Yeah.
Would anyone like to share a bit about their experiences?
It's like,
Julia's up.
Yeah,
All right,
I can
Julia.
share that. Hi. So my experience, when the pandemic started, I took a position at my agency, so a week early, and I didn't know that I had ADHD. I'd had a bipolar diagnosis for a lot of years. And so what happened for me was that I was supporting peers. There was a significantly higher rate of crisis, and I was really thrown in, but I was forgetting to eat, get dressed, take shower. And I became actively suicidal, and I had to be hospitalized. And so since then, I have put a lot of energy into learning about compassion and empathy fatigue, as well as the appropriate diagnosis. I had almost 30 years of a diagnosis that was wrong, and I didn't know that until I was forgetting to do very basic things. And it's still a pretty big struggle, but now I'm like getting the appropriate care for myself that I advocate for others to get. So that was my experience.
Thank you very much, Julia. I really appreciate it. Anybody else care to share their direct experience or some of the things that they've kind of had to walk through?
I'll get this wrong. I know it will. Carmody. Is that your name? Is that how
Carmody?
you pronounce it?
Yeah, it's Carmody.
Oh, thanks, Carmody.
Almost got it right.
You did. Well, when I started this job, I hadn't told my story. And as I'm also the outreach coordinator where I work too, so I have to go in the community and share my story. I was born and raised here, but moved away for a very long time, and it's a small town in Kansas. And so my story, there's a lot of trauma, and a lot of people know my family. And so I had to tell my story in front of the police department to help them with their training. And that really spiraled for me. I mean, I had to start doing therapy more. I didn't realize how that would trigger my PTSD. And it's taken me 6 months to kind of work for that. I have not shared my story since then. I'm working on the courage to do that again.
Thank you so much, Carmody. That's really powerful. I think we've got the breakout rooms figured out, so let's get to it. Sorry to everybody else who has their hand raised.
Everybody here? Does anybody want to share, or is everybody just?
Hi, this is Maureen. I joined late. Is there something that we're supposed to be talking about?
Talking about burnout, I'm going to send you into a room right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. This is the first time I've done a breakout room, and I'm not specifically sure how to get everyone back. Kind of looks like we still have about 60 people that are in breakout rooms, including our host. Maybe I'll email him. I don't know. Say, hey, come on back. You know, it's time to come back. I'm not really sure. So was that helpful? Everybody who had a chance to try a breakout room, did it work out okay?
It went well. I ended up getting kicked out, so I apologize. So I am back here where we are. I got kicked out of the group. I was talking, all of a sudden I got kicked out. So here we are. But yeah, everything
Weird.
was good.
Okay. That's really strange. I wonder how that happened.
Yeah. So I don't know. It just happened. I just got back in with you guys. So who knows?
Okay. Well, thanks for coming back. Are you okay?
Oh yeah. I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. I know I was hoping everyone would be back at this point. So I think you're actually in the right place. Inadvertently.
It kicked on and it said going back to the room. So it then kicked me out. So I had to relog completely back in. So I don't know if everybody got kicked out entirely or if they're still in their breakout rooms.
I don't know. I don't know how to stop it. It's like I can't stop it. I don't have the power. I guess you can't control everything, huh?
Right.
Holy moly. Okay, well. He must not have made me a host, you know, specifically. You know what? Let me email him.
Actually, to do breakout rooms, yeah, you have to be a host to bring them. That's correct.
To bring people back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it. Ah, there you are, Romaldo. Can we bring everyone back? I can't hear you. You're muted.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I've noticed a lot of people were not participating, so.
Okay. Yeah, I was hoping we could all come back at this point, but or a little earlier actually. I just didn't know how to bring them back. It's like they're all gone.
Yeah, I was out there checking out rooms and stuff and see if people were participating. I know
on, thank you.
it's closed. Send everybody a message, let them know we're all closing the rooms. Yep.
Thank you, sir. There we go. Welcome back. Hello, hello.
Or I did not know how the breakout rooms worked. It was like, did we end it? Did they end it?
I was trying to figure out the same thing. This
I
is
think
kind
it
of a new
turned
one
out
on me.
well. It turned out pretty well.
Yes, thanks for Mulder. I was not sure how it was going to work. So
I'm really happy to hear that. All right, welcome back. I wanted to make sure we came back early enough to get on the other side of this and leave everybody all bummed out and looking at kind of being in a hard spot. Let's see here.
looks like we're getting people still coming back into the room.
Okay.
About 80 people, maybe another 10.
I think we're back. So what do we do about it? We're in a rough spot. We're feeling burned out, exhausted, angry, agitated, not sleeping well enough, eating crap. I don't know, all sorts of bad stuff's happening. All right.
Well, okay, I was headed for the chat and
So what helps? So what helps me? I got I got lucky. I was kind of tanking out. I was bottoming out. I got lucky. You know what happened is I had a new staff member came on board with us, Carrie, and I'll always be happy that he joined our group. I'll always be, just send him so many props. He noticed what was going on with me before I did. And he had been working with peers in his former job for years and had been coaching and mentoring. And he just got really, really straight with me. Like he said, man, you need help, having someone that was willing to talk with me, saw me as an equal, as like not just a coworker, but as someone that was valuable. And he had this positive attitude that just kind of radiated like the sun. Everything he would say had this positive spin on it. He like lived and breathed positivity. It sort of breathed life back into why I got into this in the first place, to bring this light into the life of other people. And at the same time, I got pretty serious about my own recovery process again. I started going back to my meetings. I found a new home group. I got a new sponsor. I started really watching what I eat. Eventually I got into Weight Watchers, but that's a whole different story. Man, just started really micro focusing on my health, getting to bed on time, spending quality time with my kids, finding quiet space. I mean, I could just go on and on about the things that I've done to help feel better. And it's a constant work in progress. It's like I can't stop. Like I can't stop working on doing the things that help me feel better and better and better. I think there's a big thing that really helped me too, but I'll kind of talk about that in a minute. Monireh or Paul, would you like to talk about the things that helped you sort of halt the descent and find a way to be better or feel better?
Well,
Go
for
ahead, Paul.
myself, for myself, I had to literally find a breaking point. Yeah, I've had this several times during my life, but I have to find a point, and it's just like the panic and all that when you go up over the ladder and you're going up over this, and you finally come to the area where you can't go any farther, and you have to come down. And I'll find that area, and all of a sudden, everything just goes haywire, and I can't explain it. It's like turning a corner. It's boom, it's done. All that stress, and I find a way to release it right there, and then I can start rebuilding. It's not instant, and I wish I could give an answer of exactly what it is, but I can't. It just happens.
Thank you, Paul. What about you, Monireh?
Yeah, there's some things, and I feel like still a work in progress for me, but I am feeling better. I'm in a better place with things now for sure than I was a couple of years ago. There's some things kind of specific to work and kind of recognizing in particular that, like you and I and Paul and a number of people, we work in systems, we work in a huge bureaucracy at the VA. And even kind of in that sense of people that work in agencies and, you're just part of another system, and we don't have control over a lot of elements of that, or probably most elements of that. But just kind of recognizing that the system's not going to change. And if I'm going to if I need to feel like validated, if I need some recognition, it's not going to come from places that I think it should come from, because it hasn't. And what I've really found valuable is connecting with my team. There's 6 of us, I mentioned, and we have Microsoft Teams we use for our instant messaging at work, and we're just kind of supportive of each other all day long. And if there's a specific need to debrief, if there's a need for some help, if someone's feeling too overwhelmed, either literally or, just mentally or emotionally, we ask for help. And I find a lot of value and that validation from us kind of just giving kudos to each other and saying, hey, that was a really great job you did with that today. So I get a lot out of that. A couple other things is that a big step I took is I resigned my team lead role and went back to my regular duties 6 months ago. And I have turned over things that were not really my responsibility back to the people that needed to take those on. So I've taken the literal load off a bit, and that's been really great. Is to just kind of maintain a boundary, set a boundary, and kind of be really better to myself that way. And then more specifically, like taking time off, taking breaks when I need to. I go out for a run in the middle of the day several times a week, even just for 30 minutes. And it's a great just kind of reboot. We talked a little bit about that. I think we touched on that in our breakout session. Yeah, and therapy's been helpful too. So I think those are the things for me there. And I know other folks are wanting to join too. Are we going to do a separate breakout session? Or are we going to kind of share more or give folks an opportunity to share more in our larger group?
We are going to do a separate breakout session. Hopefully the focus will shift this time to things that helped and how we got better.
You know, I can say one thing that really did help me that I can absolutely point to is I got away from Teams. If I've got an email to send, I will walk to somebody's office and see them in person. And that helps me more than anything. Teams is great, but it's not the end all by any means. That physical contact or the, in-person contact helps.
Thank you, Paul. Oops. Sorry, I lost my screen for a second there. So what helps? There are a lot of things that can help you feel better. Like I said, for me, it wasn't like one thing. It was one thing that helped get the ball rolling. And that was a really supportive, surprise coworker. But it took a lot of stuff, and it takes a lot of stuff, and it's a continual process, just like recovery. Recovery, I found, is not just one thing, it's a bunch of things. And it's a bunch of things that lend itself to helping me feel better on the regular. The things that said to do online, and I can shoot through those, or look at the value in what you do. Finding more balance. I typically found more balance in my life. Spending more time just with downtime, without TV, without video games, without people at work, without YouTube, without just give my brain time to relax without all that stimulation. Making friends at work. I take a lot more time off now. I know that's not an opportunity for everybody. It's kind of one of the perks of working for the feds is that we get a lot of vacation time. And my kids are young, and I'm going to spend time with them if I can. And I feel a little guilty about it sometimes, but I feel like it's important to take that time with them. Connect again with others. I reconnected with my support group. Take time to connect with coworkers, connect with meaningful groups or causes. Avoiding negative people is a big one. I was that negative person. I was spreading negativity all over the place, every meeting, everybody I touched, and I had to flip the script and become the person that was spreading positivity and positive vibes. And you can do this. You can make this happen, I definitely had to expand my network of friends. There's so many more things on here, finding better ways to eat. I quit smoking, and, I stopped using, a lot of things. One big thing, though, I want to highlight specifically as a peer specialist that I think was super helpful is I redefined the connection with the people in my life, specifically the people in recovery that I work with. I let go of the idea that I could fix them, because I can't fix anybody. I'm not Superman. And even if I was Superman couldn't fix everybody. Everybody's kind of living in their own universe, and they have control over what they have control over, and they don't. And they're making decisions based on what's best for them. The 4 agreements is great if you're to jump into this concept. I started sharing a lot more when I was hurting. I kind of grew up in a lot of trauma, and hiding pain was important for survival. But I've had to learn as an adult that if you hide it, it just gets worse. I need to talk with the people that love me. I need to talk with my coworkers when I'm struggling. And that's been really helpful. I think this last point here is really big, and I think this is going to reverberate with a lot of you, but I had to relook at the people I was serving. It's not me and you. It's not me fixing you. It's not you on your journey and I'm just here to do things for you. It's us, you know? I'm on this journey. We're on this journey. I'm sharing my strengths and hopes and discouragement in order to help you on your journey. You're sharing your strengths and hopes and the things that are discouraging. It's us in this boat together. There's this AA story that talks about, well, it's a little smidgen, talks about everybody being on a lifeboat together and how we're all connected and joyous that we survived the shipwreck. And now we're on this lifeboat. And I just have to remember that some people are going to jump off the boat. It's just, or they're going to get pulled off the boat, or they're going to fall off the boat. But basically we're all in this life together, you know, and that really helps me to help people in a more meaningful way. And it helped me to manage this burnout too. So again, I'd like to jump back into breakouts if we can. I'm going to take just a second so we can read through some comments. And then this time, like I said, I'd like you all to share with each other for about 12 to 15 minutes. What's worked? Like what has pulled you into a better space? Monireh or Paul, Monireh, would you like to share anything that you kind of vibed with what I was saying? No, that's fine. Let's see what's in the comments. Melissa said, what helped me amazingly, but learn to cope and not bringing my work home, spending more time in nature, letting my coworkers know when I'm at and being understood by my peers. Never had a job where I was more understood in my mental health. That's awesome. From Rachel, love it. Yes, survived the shipwreck. From Malcolm, the only time I want something fixing me is when I can't fix myself. E.g. an aortic tear. Thank you. So if anyone would like to kind of share it takes a minute to get us into breakout rooms. If anyone would like to put in the comment section what works for you, I'd love to see it. From Melissa, going to the beach, nature support groups. From Cynthia, anything creative, art, journaling, bullet journaling. I don't know what that is. It sounds awesome though. Crafts, reading, energy work. From Melissa, we also have music and art. From Rachel, hiking, my fishing gym. That's cool.
We're ready for the breakout rooms. You wanted 10 minutes or 5 minutes or?
Let's make it, yeah, because we don't have a lot of time left. Let's say 12 minutes, come back with just a couple minutes for closing. How does that sound?
Okay.
All right, everybody, I'll see you soon. Gardening and music. I became a smart recovery facilitator. A lot of tools to help. Looks like we're on our way back. Let's see how we're doing here. Well, we might, maybe we're down to 48 people. Is that, or do we still have people coming back?
People coming back probably pushed the wrong button, went out.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. That was a really awesome discussion with my group. I really appreciated that. And they highlighted a couple things that I didn't mention in my own story, was how much I had to lean on a support group outside of my work support groups. Because I run NA meeting here, and I also run several support groups here, but I have to realize that that's not for me, like that's good for me and it helps me, but I have to get connected to my own support system outside of work too. That was a good reminder. And a lot of the people I was talking with really talked about just getting in nature, getting outside, playing disc golf. That's one of my favorite things too, Romaldo. And I think if we weren't in this meeting, we'd be comparing courses right now. But just getting outside was a really big repetitive theme. And taking a step back. Sometimes it takes stepping out of our job for a while to see the bigger picture, kind of where when we're caught up in it, it's hard to see just what's going on, all the forces that are surrounding us. And yeah, I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank you for talking with each other and sharing your stories. Monireh and Paul, thank you so much for being willing to be vulnerable and talk about what happened with you and how you felt better. I'm going to put my email in here if there's any questions I can answer outside of this. And please keep up the conversation outside of this group. I think that's so important that we keep talking to each other and recognizing that this is a big part of our lives. And thank you so much.
They're asking for the slides, a couple folks. Is that available and maybe on the Apocalypse site, or?
They will post it on the website. If you want a copy of the slides, put your email into the chat or just private chat to Romaldo your email, and I'll send you a copy. Also know that most of the information on the slides came from recovery.com, or came from one specific website, and I just Googled burnout and it was the top choice. So it's easy to find too, but I'm happy to send the slides also.
I have no way of.
This isn't going to work, is it? Okay. Can we take a picture of the chat, or?
Yeah, you can take a picture. You can download the chat.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll do that.
You can save the chat, Aaron. You know how to do that?
No.
All right, go to the chat.
Okay.
And down in the lower right corner, just to the right of where it says file, you'll see 3 dots.
Mm-hmm.
Click on that.
And save chat.
Save chat.
Got it. Thank you. I will give it a few more minutes so that everybody who wants a copy of the slides can put their email in there.
You could also put the slides inside the file and upload it into that file where people can download it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And Aaron, I added that help guide website where you got a lot of the information from.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, just about everything that's on that slide. There's a couple of custom things that I put on just from my own experience, but for the bulk of it was from that article. And that's why too, I wanted to spend more time talking with y'all about our own experiences versus, let's see here. I'm going to put the slideshow right into here too. Let's see here. If I can get to it, with my messy system here. Oh no, that's the wrong one. There you go. Okay, I'm loading it into the chat now too, so you can all download it straight from the chat if you're interested.
Got it.
Cool. Wow, an amazing list though. All right, thank you all very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thanks.
This was a cool workshop.
Okay.
Safe, y'all.
All right, y'all take care. No more Zoom for me this week.
No more. Self-care.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
Until next year.